Welcome back to Painted Valley Design's YouTube channel, where we will be showing you tutorials as well as an exclusive look into our glitter collections. You can find the glitters used in these videos at www.paintedvalleydesigns.com. Today we are going to go in and create a neon rainbow chevron ombre cup. So I've got my cup sanded, prepped, painted. I've got my vinyl here. I bought off of an Etsy shop, this stencil, I guess. I will link that in the description below so you guys can find that. It is for a 20-ounce skinny tumbler. So I was going to create it myself, but I decided I didn't want to deal with that and just found the template on Etsy. It is tapered a little bit because the cup that I am using is tapered a little bit at the bottom. It actually peeled really well coming off after I cut it with my silhouette. So I will go ahead and get that applied first. I also have a few paint brushes here, a foam brush. I also have a rubber band. That's how I line up the stencil here. I've got Mod Podge. Those are my colors that I'm using. Plum Sisters, Weekend at Bobby's, Phoenix, Yellow Fever, The Chitters, Oz, and Siren. I am going to go ahead and grab my rubber band now and put it on my cup. So I just use this to eyeball the vinyl when I put it on. So that way it's straight and it lines up at the end. So I just, like I said, eyeball this and I make sure that the rubber band is centered on the cup at the top and at the bottom. It's obviously not an exact science, but it works well for me. So I have my vinyl only partially peeled off the backing paper, just so that way as I'm going around the cup here, it doesn't start to stick in random places, because then obviously you'd have to start all over. So here I just laid my cup down and I'm making sure that those lines line up with the rubber band that's on my cup. So I just take it there and I lay it down, make sure it's even, and then I go around the rest of the cup. And then when I get to the halfway point, I just take the rubber band off, because after that I don't really need it anymore. All right, and now we are ready to get started. So I've got my piece of paper here, and I actually have enough clean sheets of paper for each color glitter that I'm using. That way I don't cross-contaminate any of the glitter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Mod Podge this by sections for the first layer. I'm not going to cover the whole thing just in case the Mod Podge does dry on me. So I'm going to take my paintbrush with the Mod Podge, and then I am going to go down the row. So I'm going to start with Plum Sisters, and then ombre it into Weekend at Bobby's, into Phoenix, into Yellow Fever, and so on and so forth. So let's dunk into our Mod Podge here and then apply a lighter first layer going in. And like I said, I am not going to cover my entire cup in Mod Podge for this first layer. You can if you can work fast enough. I was just worried that I wouldn't be quick enough and that it would dry before I reached it and have to do it again anyway. Okay, so we've got that first layer of Mod Podge on that top part. So I'm going to go in with my pink Plum Sisters, and I just do smaller rows of this. And as you'll see on this first layer, there isn't much of an ombre to it. I really get into the ombreing on the second layer that I do. I just use this one as like a base layer. And now we're going to grab Weekend at Bobby's, and we are going to pour that one on. And I do slightly tilt my cup on these, just kind of get rid of that harsh line a little bit, and lightly shake it. I don't just dump it on there because I don't want to mix them too much right now, because like I said, I do my ombreing on the more so on the final layer than I do this base layer. And now we are on to Phoenix to put that one on. And I'm going to speed up the rest of these colors as I put them on. It's just the same process of adding Mod Podge when I hit the end of my line and grab the next color and go down. And then I will be back once we are ready to start ombreing. All right, and now our cup is dry from our first round of applying the colors. So we're gonna go ahead and go back in with our Mod Podge, and this time I will cover the entire cup with the Mod Podge because I can do a thicker layer on the second coat here, and I know that it will stay wet through the entire process. Now that the entire cup is covered, I'm ready to grab my glitters and go ahead and go in and get started on this. So I'm going to take Plum Sisters again to start this and just dump it around the rim of the cup there in the spot, because you can see through this Mod Podge here, and you can see where I had already laid it down. And now I'm going to grab Weekend at Bobby's, and I'm going to apply it as well in an ombre effect. So I'm tilting my cup, and I am just barely sprinkling this along that line there where the pink meets the orange. That way I don't have that super harsh line, which is how you create that ombre effect, is by getting rid of that harsh line in between the colors and blending them together there. So you can see I'm just barely sprinkling it out onto that where the orange meets the pink, and turning my cup as I do that and keeping my cup at an angle. So I have my cup pointing, the top pointing down. That way the glitter, when it sprinkles on, it goes into Plum Sisters. And now we are going to grab our next color and do that same thing that we did with Weekend at Bobby's there. So we're going to grab Phoenix, and again, just lightly sprinkle it there with the cup tilted and just barely coming out of that baggie there. So not a heavy dump on there, just a light sprinkling of it so that the yellow and the orange meet together. And now we're going to move on to Yellow Fever. And again, just light sprinkle there so that it blends in with Phoenix. And then I also pull the color down so that it blends into the color that follows it, which on this cup is called the Chitters. So light sprinkling, and just turn the cup as I do that. And now we are on to the Chitters, and a light sprinkling to blend it in with Yellow Fever, and then pull it down a little bit so that it blends in with Oz. And this is just the same technique that I use all the way down the cup throughout all of the colors. And I have now applied all of my colors for a second time, and I'm just going back in and touching a few of them up to get that ombre a little bit better. I do tend to overdo it sometimes, and I have to stop myself from overdoing it. When I do that, I end up messing the entire cup up. But as you can see here, adding Plum Sisters back in, mixing with Weekend at Bobby's, that blend is way better than it was before. It's not such a harsh line. And now I am just going back in with the rest of the colors and touching up the blends just like I did with Plum Sisters and Weekend at Bobby's. Okay, we got all of the ombre done, so I went ahead and off camera pulled off of my vinyl, and now I'm going to go in with Grace and do the empty spaces where you can only see the white now. So I'm going to take that color called Grace and go in, and I did seal this ombre with clear spray paint first, so that way Grace doesn't stick to it as bad, and it doesn't they don't blend into each other, because I want those lines pretty harsh there in between the rainbow ombre sections and then the white sections. So now I'm just taking my Mod Podge and I'm going in section by section and painting it on there, and then pouring Grace onto it, and I will do this same technique all the way through the cup from the top to the bottom. Here's our final product. Like always, I will link the colors in the description box below individually, as well as the chunky versions of these. And we are currently having a sale on some neon glitter bundles. We've got a fine bundle and a mega bundle, and that one includes the fine glitters of these as well as the chunkies. Like always, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and turn on that bell notification to be alerted every time we post new videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.